When Blade was probably 10 years old, you probably wouldn't have thought he was 10. He was definitely a specimen. Um, Walking down the street, you probably thought he was the healthiest dog you had ever seen. His coat was beautiful. He had muscle. He had energy. He still had personality. So when things started to change, I really didn't understand what I was looking at. The first thing that changed was his right eye. The day after my brother's memorial, Blade had stayed at a friend's house, and so when I picked him up, I noticed something, but I wasn't quite sure what I was looking at. There was just something there that I couldn't really explain, but I knew something wasn't right. And a little later, I was working from home. Blade had his own routine, so usually when I got up for work, he'd stay in the bed for a while, and that was not uncommon. But that morning, when I called him, he couldn't lift his head and he really couldn't open his eyes. And I remember thinking, something is wrong, but I wasn't sure, so I called the vet's office and I went straight there. But they sent me to an eye specialist. And that's when I found out that he had developed a cataract overnight that was so aggressive it was destroying the lens of his eye. And he needed emergency surgery immediately. So there wasn't really a decision to make. I loved the dog, so that his eye wasn't going to be able to be saved. So Blake came home with one eye. And it sounds strange now, but I remember being relieved because he was alive. And I kept thinking, well, I'll figure this out. And honestly, we did. He adapted a lot quicker than I thought he would. He still wanted to go outside. He still wanted to have treats. He still wanted to be himself. He was still the same dog. But the problem was his eye wasn't the only thing changing. Around the same time, he started having trouble urinating. And at first I thought, maybe he's just getting older. Maybe he's becoming incontinent. He started wearing diapers kind of on and off. And I took him to specialist after specialist, internal medicine, imaging, testing, endoscopy, x-rays. If there was someone who might have an answer, I took him. But the hardest part wasn't that they found something terrible. It was that nobody could give me any answers. Nobody knew what was going on and could not help him. The only help they could offer was temporary relief. I was taking him to the vet every other day to have a catheter put in. But when we realized that we were never going to find an answer over time, I was asking myself, can I fix this? And it really became a question of his quality of life. Because am I keeping him alive for me or for him? And that question is one I wouldn't wish on anybody to have to ask themselves, because love makes you want more and more day. It makes you want one more walk. It makes you want one more chance, one more morning. But love also asks something else. And it asks you to be honest with yourself. And whether you're holding on for them or yourself, I knew what I had to do. So on July 5th, 2022, I made the hardest decision that I had ever made. I had to say goodbye to my best friend. And for a long time, I thought people misunderstood what grieving a pet looked like. Some people would say he was just a dog, but for me, he was my family, he was my routine, he was my home. For 10 years, I built my life around him. I bought a house because I wanted him to be safe. I turned down invitations because I wanted to be with him. I organized my days around him. And so when he was gone, there wasn't just an empty dog bed or a quiet house. My life was empty. I didn't leave my house for about 3 weeks. I don't know if what I was experiencing was depression, because I've never been diagnosed with it. I just know the world felt really far away, and I couldn't imagine wanting to be a part of it anymore. I also made the decision that, one, I believed with my whole heart. I told myself, never again, never another dog, never another pet, never another animal. Because if loving something this much meant losing it someday, I couldn't survive doing that twice. At least that's what I believed. And it's funny how life has a way of challenging the promises that we make ourselves. So I guess, that's where the next chapter actually starts.